All right, good morning. Welcome to the freedailycoaching.com call this morning. Hopefully everybody knows that you're not going to see Bert's face today. I'm Felicia Mupo, so I'm going to be his guest host for today. Super excited to join y'all this morning. And I hope everybody saw my note in the chat just a moment ago about grabbing a pen, grabbing a piece of paper, and having something to take some notes on, because today is Tech Tip Tuesday. So as you know, on Tech Tip Tuesday, as the name says, we are going to go through something a little bit more on the technical side, something that you may want to take some notes on, because it's going to be some tips that you may indeed want to be able to go back and reference when the time is right. As you know, with a lot of the tech tips, right now isn't necessarily the right time to implement a lot of these tips, but you want to go back at some point and be able to reference them. So strongly suggest you grab a pen and a piece of paper before we get going this morning. While you're doing that, just want to say hello and good morning to everybody. We've got folks from all over the United States. I think we may even have somebody joining us from overseas this morning. So Phil and Patty, Karen, Tanis, Tom, Debbie, great to see all of y'all on here this morning. There's a few more people popping on, a couple that I don't know, so welcome. Glad you're here with me this morning. Anybody who's on and thinks that they are going to see Bert Bledsoe this morning, just want to let you know Bert Bledsoe is driving. He's driving from Colorado Springs, where he lives, over to Denver for a super fun night, because two people that many of us know are celebrating birthdays this week. Adam Chandler's birthday is today, so if you know Adam, go visit his Facebook page, go make a comment, tell him happy birthday, all of that. He and Bert are meeting up in Denver because tomorrow is Bert's birthday. So I think they have a fun night of concert and dinner and activities planned and all of that. So great to give Bert a day off from the freedailycoaching.com call, and we'll help handle the Tech Tip Tuesday this morning. With that, be sure, a little assignment since Bert's not on to hear me say this, be sure that you go to his Facebook page tomorrow and leave a comment there. Let him know happy birthday. He's really excited. He's doing some really fun things. So he's super excited from where he was last year at this time, both in his personal life as well as his business life, and where he is this year. So a very, very fun birthday for him to be celebrating. Now, welcome to the folks that just joined us. Like I said, grab a pen and piece of paper, because we are going to jump right into Tech Tip Tuesday on the coaching call this morning. Now, I've got a question for you. I have the chat turned on, so I'm going to bop over to the chat myself, and I want to hear from you. How many of y'all have hosted webinars? So webinars of your own, outside of guest hosting for Bert or for anybody else, that you've set up a webinar on your own, hosted it for 30, 60, 90 minutes, and then followed up with the people thereafter. Also, if you haven't yet hosted your own webinar, do you have plans of hosting a webinar in the coming future? I just want to know that, because that may give me a bit of information on where to steer today's call and the advice that I give. So I'll give it just a few minutes for the chat to catch up. But if y'all can let me know, are you hosting webinars, or do you plan to host webinars here in the near future? Great. I see that Clive's done 2 so far. Super excited for that. I know that Clive and I are together in a 100-day Biz Builder challenge that has really pushed us to get out there and host some webinars. Same thing for Tom. He's doing 2. I know both of those gentlemen are on a roll of hosting webinars and really liking to deliver information to people in that format. So Patty, looks like maybe you want to host webinars, but you're having a little bit of struggle with PowerPoint. Maybe that's I don't have us teed up to cover PowerPoint today. I love PowerPoint. I'm a whiz in PowerPoint, and I can definitely show you some tips there. So maybe when I come back on, if I come back on a Tuesday, a Tech Tip Tuesday, we'll jump into PowerPoint, and I'll show you just some simple things that you can do that make a very effective webinar without all of the whiz-bang, fancy stuff that's going to take you a ton of time to set up. All right, so Debbie's hosting webinars. Tanis plans to host webinars, and Christina, I know, has been hosting webinars and is going to continue to do so, because Christina, for example, is going to be the guest host here on this call tomorrow. So super excited that Bert is having 2 days off. All right. Sounds great. Thanks for the info there. With that, what I'm going to cover today is I'm going to show you the full cycle of setting up a webinar. I'm going to use Webinars on Air because that's what I use. That's what we're on today. It's a very, very simple webinar platform to use. It's also very cheap. So, or I shouldn't say cheap, I guess inexpensive, as compared to some of the other webinar platforms that are out there. There's some that you can do. You can do like a Google Hangout, but you don't have a lot of control. You don't have the ability to tie into your autoresponder. So I recommend Webinars on Air. I think it's like $20 a month. It's not. It's not going to break the bank. So we're going to set up a webinar using Webinars on Air. I'm also going to show you how to tie that into your Aweber list. So I use Aweber as an autoresponder. I don't know what all of y'all use, but there's some really there's a couple of really cool features that I found that of tying Webinars on Air into your Aweber list. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We're about 7 minutes past the hour. Gives us about 20-25 minutes to chat, and I want to be sure and get through everything. But just to make sure that I don't forget to share this with you at the end, I'm going to redirect you over to a registration page. I'm going to be hosting a full-length webinar training session on Thursday night, so 9 o'clock Eastern time. I'm going to talk about a lot of ways in which you can automate your communication and correspondence, going into things like autoresponders, as well as systems where you can broadcast out video messages, text messages, audio messages like those robocalls. Look into syndication of your social media posts. So really ways in which you can make that communication process much easier, so that way you're not spending a ton of time reaching out to everybody individually just to give them information of what's going on a regular basis that a lot of people want to know. So hang on at the end. I'll redirect you over to the registration page if you'd like to join me for that, but let's go ahead and dive in right now. I'm going to go into a screen share. So just in case I have any technical issues, I just typed in my text number. It comes up under Bert's name, but feel free and send me a text if we have any technical issues. All right, at this point, you should be seeing my screen, and I hope you are, because what I'm going to do first is I'm going to jump into Aweber. We're going to go into my Aweber account and set up a quick list. Now, as you know, all of your money is in your list, and you really want to be capturing names into your own personal list. I know many of us here on the call use My Lead System Pro as a marketing system. They have the ability to maintain an autoresponder for you, and that's a great place to start. But ultimately, you really want to be able to communicate one-on-one or through a specific list with the people that are following you. So I recommend going with an autoresponder. Like I said, I use Aweber. If you need a link to it, let me know. If you need a little bit more training, I'll be happy to do that. But let's go ahead and go up here where it says Create and Manage List. This is one of the first things. Whoops, we don't want to go to a summit. X out of that. So one of the first things that you want to do is to create a list, so that way you can tie this into the webinar that you're going to be hosting. In here, when you set it up, you automatically set up the standards, your website, your email address, all of that kind of stuff, and so simply you can click Next Step. But you want to give your list a name. So we're going to call this one You'll find that I cannot type and talk very well at the same time. We're just going to call this one Bert's Friends. This is going to be a test list for the free daily coaching call. Okay, just a short description here. It doesn't have to be anything too in-depth. As you can see, it allows up to 400 characters, which really isn't too much anyway. But you don't need to get too wordy here. And go on to the next step. Now, it does have you select a confirmation that the person wants to join your list. Go ahead and select it, but I'll show you how to turn that off in a moment, because you're not going to want to have people have double opt-ins in most cases. You can do that, and it cuts down on the spam that maybe you're reported on, but as long as you're sharing good, valuable information with your list, they're not going to report you as spam anyway. Okay, so we see up at the top here that we are currently working in the list of Bert's Friends. We could choose any one of these lists if we wanted to go through and create multiple lists at one time, or if when we log in it doesn't have the right one listed, but we want to stay into Bert's Friends. If you go to the last option here of list options and preferred opt-in, I come right down here, and at number 2 it says, do we want to require an opt-in for this? And I say no, that I want to turn that off. I confirm that I want to turn that off. What that does is when somebody is put into your autoresponder list, they don't then need to go to their email, click that, open that email that says, you know, confirmation required, and click on it in order to actually be on your list. You'll notice that, goodness, in personal experience, it's probably been 50 to 60% of people never do even open that email. So when I go tell them they need to do that, they're like, oh, yeah, sure, no problem. They just miss it in their email chain. So if you turn that off, now again, you don't want to be sending out spam, because you'll get spam reports. You'll get in trouble for that. But the Aweber system tracks the spam rating on your message that you're sending out, reports that to you, and as long as you're sharing valuable content, if somebody decides they don't want it, they'll simply unsubscribe, but it's unlikely that they'll mark you as spam if you are sending valuable content to them. You can also do a success page, just a, you know, kind of a welcome, a thank you. To be honest, what I put in here in my success page, I send them right back to my website. Because the way that people opt in to my list may differ. They may or may not have ever been on my website. So that's what I put in there. Whoops, good idea again if I could type and talk at the same time. And I still can't do it. There we go. Now we've got a correct one in there. So now we've set up your list here. If you go back over to the basic settings, so we're still under Bert's Friends, we're still under list options, and we have our basic settings here. You'll notice there's a unique list ID. You can change that. I don't usually. It's just an extra step that's kind of unnecessary because we've already got the list name. And you copy this. You're going to want this when you go to set up the connection between this and your webinars on air event that you're going to set up. So I've highlighted it. I've copied it. Now we've got a very basic list here. But we need to do our messages. So the follow-up message series. You can create your first follow-up. Now when you create a message, whether it's a broadcast or a follow-up, you can choose from a whole bunch of different templates. Typically, I don't use a template. If I do, I use this one here called Vegas. I like the black background. No, I have zero statistical information as to whether or not people like that more or hate that more. I don't know. I like it. So if I want to put a big picture and have clickable picture links within my message, I will use this Vegas one. But if you want to stay with something a little bit more standard, you can also do it here just in the custom template. But in the custom template, to set this up very briefly, if any of you have ever joined one of my webinars, hopefully you noticed this message that you got where I take out the first name just because some people are kind of silly and they'll put, I don't know, Butthead's joining, and then when you send them a message it says, hi, Butthead. So I take out the person's first name. I haven't had anybody do that to me, but I hear it happens quite frequently. We don't want to be calling our followers Butthead, even if they put that as their first name. So I'll just say and I won't type out everything that I say because I can't type and talk at the same time. So I'll just say, congratulations on joining the webinar, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I tie in something about the webinar. Like, so one of them the other day said, congratulations on stepping up and transitioning from a sponsor of new reps into your home business over to being transitioning from a recruiter of new reps over to being a true sponsor of new reps that positions your business for massive duplication and success. So it tied in because the webinar that I was talking about was transitioning from being a sponsor transitioning from being a recruiter over to being a actual sponsor of new reps, which means, somebody who really positions the new people on their team for massive success and at building that team culture. So that's one of the things I trained on because that's a strong point that I already naturally have. You'll want to pick something that you know about that you want to train on, but is also universally valuable to the people that would land onto your bit of information. So I'll say congrats, look forward to seeing you on Thursday, 7/24 at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, I formatted a lot prettier than that and everything. Now, I have a banner that I use, and if you want to add any of these buttons that are up here, all you do is grab it, drag it, wait for the area to be highlighted that you want to drop it, and drop it. I do the same thing at the very bottom because I have a signature that I already have set up. I'll show you how to put the images actually in there briefly. When you click on it, you can either upload a file if you don't have a gallery already established. I do, so I'm going to go to my image gallery. This is the header that I use, which is the same banner that's on my website. I click here. Again, I go to the image gallery. This is my signature that's already in here. Now you'll notice there's a bunch of extra space in this text box, just so that way people don't have to scroll way down. I delete all of that out. Now one of the things that I also do is because this right here, people can't click down here and go to my website, I make this a clickable link by going over here and saying that the image link right over here is FeliciaMupo.com, which is my website. So if anybody does click on this, they will be taken over to my website, and it really doesn't matter if they click on the picture, my name, or down here where it actually shows my website. They could do any of that. But all right, so we've got our first autoresponder message or follow-up series message created. If you want to have multiple messages, you just do this over and over and over. Determine which ones you want to go immediately and the frequency in which you want those messages to go out. They can go out, they can go out every single day. You can pick that you want certain ones to go out on a Monday, a Tuesday, and a Wednesday if they're specific. Like, for example, the My Lead System Pro call. If you say that it's happening tonight, then you're going to want to send that on a Wednesday. not on a Thursday. They would have missed it at that point. So you can pick that as well. We've got a title here. So we're just going to title it. You want to title it something that, catches people's attention. They want to open it. Probably better than Bert's Friends follow-ups. Come down here and save it. Click next. I always track the clicks to the website through there. And there's a whole lot more information that I put in there, and we'll go through exactly what I put on Thursday's webinar. Now, you'll see here I do have a spam score of 0.4, and that's because there's not actually real words in there. So it's given me kind of a spam score. But you can create additional follow-ups. This one's scheduled to send immediately. I could change that by clicking edit if I wanted to hold it for a little while. Especially if you have multiples, you'll want to schedule that, and we'll go through that again on Thursday. But at least now we have a follow-up series in place. Let's go over and set up a webinar. Now, I've already logged in. Hopefully, I'm still logged in. It hasn't kicked me out. But all I want to do is schedule a webinar. We must give our webinar a title. Bert's Friends, as well as a description. And a date. Ideally, you don't want to try to change the date afterwards. It's kind of clunky and cumbersome in order to change the date. So you want to try to get this right as much as possible. I'm just going to move it to a later time so it doesn't end up telling me that I've scheduled it for after the time. Be sure and pick the appropriate time zone. I am in Bert's system here, so he's got it set to Mountain, but be sure and pick the time zone that you want to communicate to your folks. In my stuff, I always say that the calls are listed in Eastern time, so 9 o'clock Eastern. So just so that way people don't get confused, I switch that to Eastern time. Now, we can also have a thank you redirect. On the call on Thursday, I will show you how to set up a redirect as a private page on your website and have a video in there. I almost always do that. So when somebody registers, they get a video of me personally saying, thank you so much for registering. Here's what we're going to do on the webinar. Look forward to seeing you. And oftentimes also on that redirect thank you page, I say, if you want a sneak peek, check this out. And by that point, I have already posted a blog, article out on my blog. At a minimum, I've put up a video on YouTube, but I try to have had a article already on my blog, so that way I can keep people in the loop by sending them to the thank you page, which is on my website, have them click from that to an article that I've already written with a video embedded in it. I'm keeping them in my circle as long as possible. But we'll cover that on Thursday. Yeah, we know that it's not easily going to be able to be changed afterwards. Now let's go over here to the autoresponder. Now, if you've got one of these autoresponders, you can easily link it to this Webinars on Air. That's one of the reasons why I use Aweber. And what it does is it makes it where the people that register for your webinar are automatically added to that list that we created within Aweber. So we've captured them for not only the webinar, but we've also captured them for our newsletter, or I call it my inner circle, whatever you want to call it. You've captured them onto your list. They don't have to go back and follow you again in order for you to have more correspondence with them. Now, this is where you put that unique list ID. When you saw when I highlighted it earlier, the series of numbers here, that's where you add it in right there, and you click Save. It's as simple as that. Now anybody that registers will be added to this list within my Aweber. If you want to make one of those kind of fancier registration pages that you see, there's a number of ways to do that. For simplicity, I usually just use the use the webinars on air customized pages. You can get all fancy and use some other ones that I think are super cool, like lead pages and things like that. I'm not that technical. I kind of gone with the easiest route right now so I can get it up and going. I focus more attention on giving valuable content during my webinars than I do is to make it look fancy and flashy before my webinars. But I do typically change a theme. This is the standard theme. I think it's kind of boring and it doesn't really tell anybody anything. So I go up here and I change the theme and I pick one that is going to fit. If you've attended some of mine, you've seen that I've used this one before where I've had an image here in the background. I've used this one before that has the ticker countdown with a video along with it. The one that I'm doing on Thursday, I picked this one right here. Kind of depends on what you want to see. A lot of times I like this one the best, which is the timer. It ticks down, gives people kind of a sense of urgency of claiming their spot. You'll want to come in here, obviously, and whatever you put as the title, it'll auto-populate it, but you can click on it, highlight it, and change it if you don't want the title that you have in your back office to be the same. Add all the information we see here. We only have 43 minutes until this one. Your host, you'll want to put your name and maybe a little bit about you here so that way people, before they ever even register, they know why they would want to register for this webinar, and some bullet points about what they're going to get. And keep in mind here, to intrigue people, you don't want to tell them, so much what it is that you're going to do, but what the benefit is. What's the benefit of the benefit? It's great that they're going to learn this, but once they learn this, what are they going to get? Like, for example, the one that I'm doing on Thursday, yes, I'm going to teach you how to set up an AWeber list and follow up as well as broadcast messages to that list. But what it actually gets for you is it frees up a lot of your time, keeps your followers and customers engaged with you on an ongoing basis, and something that you can pre-schedule so that way it's consistent, and you're not having to think about it every single day, maybe as you need to do with some sort of social media post. I love videos as well. So if you click this little eyeball thing, why it's an eyeball, I don't know, but if you click that little eyeball thing, it gives you the ability to add a video or an image here. You can click video or image. On Thursday, I will show you how to upload a video here as well as how to upload the URL here. You'll have hosting that's either done through your blog site, or you can, if you're a My Lead System Pro member and you host your media over there, you can put in that URL, and I'll show you how to do that. I always click Auto Start. Do not count on people actually clicking that button. I know it's a tiny, tiny finger movement, but it's a huge leap for people to do sometimes, so I always click Auto Start. We'll go ahead and cancel out of this for time's sake tonight, or I'm sorry, this morning, and we have our basic registration page set up. When we go back over to webinars, we'll see here that you've got your webinar listed. It's when it is, how many registrants you've got on there. If you want to share it directly, you can click on any one of these links, and the accounts that you have tied to this, you can share it through that way. If you come down here, this is where you can make some adjustments to it. Now, let me show you one more cool thing that I have recently learned. If you come down here, it's under the settings part, the webinar, view the webinar links. Now, you've got your standard link, and this is the one that you're probably used to using, either putting in a blog post or sharing out on your social media. But also, you can come down here and pick which autoresponder you're using. In this case, I'm using AWeber. See this little link down here? This is super cool. So we can click this, copy it to our clipboard. Now, when we come over here, say we want to send out a broadcast message to all of our current subscribers within Aweber. You know, I grab that extra that longer one that is assigned to Aweber, and now what I can do is when I create a broadcast, there we go. I can simply say click here. Not click her, click here is probably more appropriate. Highlight this. Attach that long link, it's going to validate it. Now, no longer do you have to send your current subscribers to Aweber over to the registration page and count on them to actually put their information in. When they click on this link, and this is a message that you would broadcast out to your current subscribers. When they click on this link, it will automatically register them for that webinar, send them directly to your thank you page, not to your registration page. So they don't even have to fill out their information. It swiped the information from Aweber, put it into your Webinars on Air account, registered the person, sent them the registration link, sent them over to your thank you page with just a click of a button. I thought that was super cool. I've implemented that into my, my current messages. All right. I think that's probably all that we have time to cover today. I'm already 2 minutes over the hour, and I know that there's a lot of us that go over to the My Lead System Pro call that's starting right now. So I don't want to keep you from being able to do that. And hopefully we're back together. Okay, so we should be back. I should be off of screen share. You should be seeing my face again now. Now with my puffy eyes because I've been staring at the computer. But let me know in the chat. Do you have any other specific questions? Is there a couple of things in there that hopefully I was able to show you this morning that you didn't already know? So the question, I got a question here is, will I be recording the call on Thursday? Yes, I do record all of my calls on Thursday, just so you know. Now, Patty, you are already on my list. I already know you personally, so yes, I'll be happy to share it with you. Typically, what I do with those calls is either one, I turn them into a product and I sell them afterwards, or I have them as a opt-in either through social media. A couple of them are going to be going to become my primary opt-in on my webpage. So yes, I can share that with you. Just remind me afterwards. Great idea to redirect. Yes, Patty, the Webinars on Air is very user-friendly, as well as it's not expensive. You know, I do like the features that are available on GoToWebinars. Like, for example, when I go over to screen share, I can't see the comments, I can't see the attendees. I can't see if I'm having a technical issue. I can't ask you to raise your hand or ask you any questions. But if I was using GoToWebinars, I could do all of that. That's nice. But it's a difference between $20 and $100. And I don't know, webinars on air is sufficient for me now. Great. Looks like we're getting some wonderful comments. I am so glad that I was able to share some information with you today on the freedailycoaching.com call. Bert is out there having fun. He's enjoying his birthday and Adam Chandler's birthday. So be sure, go visit their website or go visit their Facebook sites. Wish them a happy birthday. If you've got questions about what I shared this morning, be sure to join me on Thursday. I'm going to send you over to the registration page for that now. Or visit my Facebook fan page. It's the Felicia Mupo, so facebook.com/the Felicia Mupo. Post a question or comment there for me if you would, and I'll address those right away. But Check Christina tomorrow. Christina Irving's going to be our guest host tomorrow. I'm excited to see what she has to share with us. She is a wealth of information, especially when it comes to Google Plus. With, oh my goodness, I need to get better on Google Plus. I think we all do. So I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow, and y'all have a great, great day.